Magazine subscriptions. This happened about 15 years ago when the internet and e-com were still young. I had this supervisor who was a real douchebag. Once he asked me to help him out at the last minute and take a particularly shitty shift, and I did because I was a team player. The anticipated business level did not materialize, so I left at my scheduled time. To be clear, I did not leave early and abandon my colleagues. I left at the end of the shift. I did not stay late. Couple of days later, douchebag schedules a meeting with me, and when I arrive I see the two owners are there as well. DB starts calling me out, accusing me of abandoning my colleagues and falsifying the timesheet. I ask him if he is on crack. He keeps berating me and questioning my commitment and loyalty. The two owners sit in stunned silence, but don't defend me. I was employee number 2, he was number 35 or something like that, so eventually I said I had enough, and got up and went home. He sent me an email later that day saying I was suspended for 3 days, so don't come into the office tomorrow. I ignored that too. The next morning when I got in, he was surprised to see me and told me to go home. I basically told him to go fuck himself. I no longer recognized him as my supervisor. My pay never got docked either. Office tensions were high after that, but I just went about my business like he wasn't there. He continued to be a douchebag, but I just bided my time. I am very patient. About a year later I noticed his T4 envelope on his desk. No one was around, so I palmed it, and that gave me his home address and social insurance number. Also learned I made about triple his salary. Made me feel good. His house was only a short side trip for me on my way home, so I would leave early, go to his house and intercept his mail. I would take it home, steam it open, scan it and seal it back up. Next day I would swing by and put it back in his mailbox. It took about 3 months, but I eventually got 2 credit card statements and I was able to determine he got his CC statements around the 10th of the month. Got his utility bills too, and a letter from social services notifying him he was going to get his wages garnished for non-payment of child support. Once a douchebag, always a douchebag. I had been putting together a list of URLs for the most violent, disgusting porno websites hawking magazine subscriptions featuring topics such as bestiality, golden showers and scat, among many others. Readers, I am not judging. I spent a Saturday night mid-month with a bottle of rum subscribing him to every magazine, both print and online, that I could find. In those days there was very little credit card security. If you had the full card number and billing postal code, you were in. There were no CVV or PIN numbers. I knew he wouldn't see his statements for over 3 weeks. The following Monday I canceled his utilities, telling them I was going abroad for an extended period and wanted to suspend the services. I made it a point to be exceptionally rude to the utility companies so the account would be flagged, hopefully as douchebag. Also got his vehicle registration reminder and vehicle insurance renewal, both of which I did not return. To DB's credit, he never said a word, that I heard, in the office, about the shit going down in his personal life, but I knew he was suffering and that was good enough for me. About 6 months later, on a whim, one night after a few cocktails, I tried signing him up for more stuff and was surprised to find both his credit cards still worked. He hadn't closed the cards. I signed him up for a bunch more magazines but made the mailing address the office. Signed him up for a number of online porn sites, and used his work email. That got people's attention, and not long after DB was no more. I win. My freebie sister-in-law had to pay her own way. This is back in 1999. I always had a cell phone, and freebie sister-in-law called up while my son and myself were eating at a restaurant. We were only a short drive and freebie was known to invite herself out to eat and expected other people to pay. This time was no different. She and her 3 kids ordered adult meals, that was 50% higher than kids' meals. With now 5 people it would have cost me well over $100 bucks. I decided to teach her a lesson. While I was gone to the bathroom I paid my bill for my son and myself. When I got back, freebie was ordering dessert for herself and 3 kids. I stayed for a short time, enough to get uneaten food packed, and I left. I was told by family that freebie had to wait for my brother-in-law to get off work to pay. I know it's not very emotional, but freebie never asked to eat out with me. Have a great day. Think that I am a joke? Well, the joke's on you. I have been keeping to myself since I was 17 years old. This story is around 6 years old and I haven't told anyone else about it ever. And it's going to be a long one. This is a story where I got my neighbor's bully of a daughter arrested, outcasted by parents and the majority of her friends, and stripped of her popularity. Let me give you some backstory first. I have lived in my current house for over 20 years. My neighbors have been living in their house for around 15 years. The parents were nice and they came from a Middle Eastern background. They have 3 kids. 2 girls and 1 boy. This is about their youngest daughter, who will be ND, who was the same age as me. She was nice to some extent. At the time I knew her only as a neighbor friend. And I never went to the same school, but that all changed when I changed school during the 5th grade to her school. Ever since then, she and her friends tried to make my school life a living hell. They would play pranks on me, ridicule and belittle me, and then call me names on social media, mostly Twitter. BTW, I was diagnosed at 7 for ADHD and Asperger's, mild autism, so I was their mental punching bag. And we are in high school. ND has jumped to being in the popular group while I am with the weird and unpopular kind. Their attitudes towards me keep getting worse and worse. One night, when I was around 17, I get a Facebook message from ND that she is having a party and wants me to come over. And I thought it was very unusual because of 1. She has never ever messaged me unless she has to. 2. She has never invited me to her parties before. So I immediately thought that this was a JIP. At this point, I was getting sick of her and her friends making sneering comments about weird and of an idiot I am. So this was the perfect time to plan my revenge. So I asked my parents if I could go, even though I was underage. Drinking age is 18 here. They said it was fine because I would be next door. So I went and ND was very surprised to see me. She and her friends started to giggle. So I followed her to the basement and see all of the other popular kids from my school along with some others. So let me tell you this, I was only there for 30 minutes because after that I had all the evidence that I needed. I see beer pong, people getting high and smoking with bongs, and a lot of underage drinking. A lot of the others were the same age as me, maybe younger, because this party around October and I am pretty sure that almost everyone there just turned 17. I also noticed that neither of ND parents or siblings was there. So I left. So I waited an hour because I didn't want to draw any attention. I was all ready for bed, and when I looked outside my bedroom window, which has a clear view of her front yard, and noticed that the party had moved to the front yard and 1/3 of the party people were leaving. So I started my plan. I went and grabbed my phone and called the police. I told them what everything is going on, as a concerned neighbor, and the officer thanked me. Just before I went to bed I saw flashing lights. The next day at school and ND was nowhere to be found, and there was a rumor going on that she and a bunch of other students were arrested last night due to illegally underage smoking and drinking. And so a week go by and still no sign of ND. Fast forward to 2 weeks after the incident, and during those 2 weeks, she and her friends completely trashed me on Twitter, saying that I was a red and that I was stupid and etc., still not knowing that I was the one who called the police. So I finally see her in the halls and started to chat with her, and I asked what had happened cause I saw police lights at her place. So she told me everything that I didn't already know and then some. She told me that her parents had grounded her because she threw a party without their permission. And that her dad was furious. He is more traditional than her mom, and he has forbidden her to have or go to parties, or hang out with her friends and boyfriend, or even leave the house unless it was for school or appointments. She was on total house lockdown, which took a big toll on her social standing at school. As she was telling me this, I was having a hard time keeping a straight face because I suck at lie/keeping a secret, and she sees this and it clicks in her mind that I was the one who called the police, and she was furious and threatens to tell the whole school about it, and I told her to go right ahead and added that no one was going to believe you. And then she stomps away. The thing is that even though I was unpopular, I was friends with almost everyone in my grade, especially with the guys from the most popular to the least. And as well as I am a goody two-shoes and one of the nicest and honest people ever. So she tried. The people who knew me the most didn't believe her and told her to go F herself. And the guys who were the most popular came up to me and asking if it was true. So I told them in the most innocent voice that why would I do that, and what, does she have any proof? And then proceeded to tell them what she and her friends have been saying about me on Twitter, and showed them proof of screenshots of their feed. So they said, yeah, we didn't think you would have it in you to do it. So because of this she became a social outcast among everyone except her closest friends and was completely stripped of her popularity status. And after this incident, she had tried to get me in trouble with the principal, so, during a meeting with the principal, I returned the favor by telling them that she had no proof that I did it, and showed the principals her Twitter feed of everything that her and her friends were saying about me for the last year. The look on her face when she found out that I had Twitter and knew of her bad-mouthing was priceless. And so, in turn, her parents completely deleted all of her social media accounts, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., and took her computer and phone away.